Us.
Meanwhile, one of the concerns among Republicans in the debt ceiling debate is the possibility of those drastic cuts to defense spending that would be triggered if the recommendations made by that super congressional committee are not adopted by Congress. And joining us right now from the Russell Rotunda in Washington, D.C. is the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Arizona Republican John McCain. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning, Steve.
Peter
and Gretchen.
Indeed. How big are the cuts we're talking about over 10 years? Because I know there are a couple of guys on the Armed Services Committee over in the House, McCAIN and Young. They have said that if they are over $439 billion over 10 years, they would have nothing to do with it.
Well, I think they are possibly, and I emphasize possibly, could be higher than that. That assumes that this committee is unable to act and come up with a result. I'm confident that the committee will be able to do so. I also believe that there is trade-offs in every agreement. The fact that the president did not get his tax increase, that he can no longer have this line about corporate jets and billionaires and all of that is, is significant. And I also think that when you look at the markets today, you'll see that this is generally approved of by financial markets, but most importantly, the American people wanted us to reach an agreement, and our approval ratings are at an all-time low. They expect us to come with a result. I think this result, which is basically the McConnell last option plan, as you know, is one that we can live with. None of us like it particularly, but I think it's something that has to happen.
But Senator, it's almost like you're admitting to the rest of the world that it's tough for Congress to come to a decision and a compromise because you're putting in these trigger mechanisms that both parties hate. The Democrats don't want to cut Medicare. The Republicans don't want to cut defense. So you're setting yourself up to try and come to this compromise with the committee, but that's really never happened before, at least in the last year. So why are you so confident?
Well, first of all, no committee has ever been like this that I know of outside of the BRAC, the Base Close Commission, because this requires an up or down vote only. And that is, in my view, significant. That's what makes it different from the Gang of Six or the Simpson Bowls or so many of these others. Congress is going to have to vote yes or no. I'm confident that we can come up with an agreement which will have some pain for everybody. But Gretchen, if you can give me another result that can get through both houses of Senate, I'd love to hear it.
Well, no.
And I'd like to say again that it does require a vote. Could I just mention it does require a vote on the balanced budget amendment?
Right.
I'm for that. I've always supported the balanced budget amendment. It's not going to pass the Senate, but it will put impetus behind the balanced budget amendment, and it will eventually pass because that's what most Americans want.
Well, will you at least agree that whomever is appointed to this committee will be one of the most important decisions that the leaders of both parties ever make?
Absolutely, and I have confidence that the selections will be of people who have the credentials to act in a way that's best interest of the country.
Senator, what was your assessment of President Obama's leadership skills in terms of how late he came to the table and to this discussion and bringing us to the point that we are today? Was there leadership or was there an absence of leadership in your view?
Peter is MIA. The negotiations and the agreement was conducted between basically Harry Reid, Mitch McConnell, and John Boehner, and obviously with White House input. But I don't think anybody, I think even President Obama's most zealous advocate would admit that the president did not lead. But this is what he's been doing on national security policy, on domestic issues such as this, quote, leading from behind.
Yeah. Senator, what about the Tea Party? You know, they came to Washington to shake things up. And you know what? Say what you may. I know, love them or hate them, a lot of people are on both sides of that. They got some stuff done, and they wound up with that balanced budget amendment in there. That was one of the sweeteners that they got Boehner to include, and a lot of people would like to see how their people from Washington vote on that very topic.
Well, first of all, I agree that the Tea Party movement has had an effect in that I don't think without the Tea Party we would have had an agreement where the president had to back down and abandoning his advocacy. In fact, it was his primary position that we had to have tax hikes. So I think the Tea Partiers can claim a lot of credit. But I would say again, for Tea Partiers to insist that we pass a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution with only 1/3 of the government is not a realistic assessment. But that doesn't mean we can't do it over time. We can.
All right.
All right, Senator John McCain, it's always great to talk with you, and thank you so much for giving of your time today. We'll see you again soon.
Senator.